happening to this very day. It is true and accurate and alive. Today, all over the world, all mankind, regardless of their religion, side of belief, today, all over the world, all mankind, regardless of their religion, side of belief, whether they are poor or millionaires or monarchies, the king or the queen, searching for peaceful life to live on this earth, praying every second, every minute, every day and every night. For whom they are praying. And whatever the wealth and happiness and the scientific profession knowledge they may have, and yet the mankind has not found a solution for a peaceful life to live on this earth. Every day and every night, for whom they are praying. And whatever the wealth and happiness and scientific profession knowledge they may have, and yet the mankind has not found a solution for a peaceful life to live on this earth. God's divine law, focus my dear friends, God's divine law, the whole Bible, rejects all man-made false religion on this world. Divine law. God's divine law, the Bible, rejects all man-made false religions in this world, which pleases men, not the Creator, not the God, it pleases the men. The false religion pleases the men, but not the God, the Creator. And all those who have violated His divine law will be accountable to God's judgment day. Notice what, my dear friends. Focus this carefully. All the mankind will be accountable to God's judgment day, whether they are dead or alive or buried or burned to ashes. Whether they are dead or alive or buried or burned to ashes. I invite you all to read Ezekiel chapter 37, 1 to 14 verses. Read Ezekiel chapter 37, 1 to 14 verses, and Luke chapter 20, 38. Also notice what? Even those dead ones in their grave, even those dead ones in their grave can hear the mighty supreme God's voice. What do you think about this, my dear friends? What a mighty God is. We are dead for the people. We are not dead for God. That's what he says here. Whether they are dead or alive or buried or burned to ashes. Read Ezekiel chapter 37, 1 to 14 verses, and Luke chapter 20, 38. Even those dead ones in their grave can hear the mighty God's voice. Read John 5, chapter 28 to 29. Read John chapter 5, verses 28 to 29. John chapter 5, verse 28 to 29. And Luke chapter 20, 35 to 38 verses. And Luke chapter 20, 35 to 38 verses. My dear friends, the entire world knows the Holy Bible. The entire world knows the Holy Bible through various mass communications. Through various mass communications, the media the television, the radio, the magazines, the newspapers, and from thousands of missionary leaders all over the world. The entire world knows the Holy Bible through various mass communications. The media, the television, the radio, the magazines, the newspapers, and from thousands of missionary leaders all over the world today. And yet, the mankind is not aware that the Bible is a divine law. And yet, the mankind is not aware that the Bible is a divine law, is belong to every soul on this earth, regardless of their religious background. And yet the mankind is not aware that the Bible is a divine law, is belong to every soul on this earth, regardless of their religious background. Today, the world clergies and the missionary leaders are violating the God's divine law, and they're brainwashing the innocent people's mind and with their own interpretation of the Bible to avoid the mankind to know the truth. What Jesus says is true. Read Matthew chapter 15, 6 to 9, and Mark chapter 7, 6 and 7. Read Matthew chapter 15, 6 to 9, and Mark chapter 7, 6 and 7. The world clergies and the missionary leaders are violating the God's divine law, and they are brainwashing the innocent people's mind with their own interpretation of the Bible to avoid the mankind to know the truth. What Jesus says is true. Read Matthew chapter 15, 6 to 9, and Mark chapter 6 and 7. And yet the world clergies and the missionary leaders are deceiving the innocent mankind with their performance of many miracles to keep the mankind to believe that their temples and the churches are holy. Focus this, my dear friends. And yet the world clergies and the missionary leaders are deceiving the innocent mankind with their performance of many miracles to keep the mankind to believe that their temples and the churches are holy. Read what Jesus says, my dear friends, in Matthew chapter 24, verse 24, about the false miracle, what they're performing to deceive the people. Read what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 24, verses 24. Chapter 24, verse 24. What the false miracles they're performing to deceive the innocent people. Even to this very day, the clergies, the idols, or the church buildings, or the temples of the human versions, or the human version, will help the mankind for a peaceful life on this earth? No, not at all. Unless all mankind do what the divine law says. Unless all mankind do what the divine law says, what the Creator says. Notice what? God's divine law is not a religious book or a human law or caste or creed or fairy tale stories. God's divine law is not a religious book or a human law or a caste or creed or fairy tale stories. From the start to the end of the books of Genesis to the books of the Bible, from Genesis to the book of Revelation, from the start to the end, the book of Genesis to the book of Revelation, it says about the one and only Creator and His divine law. It says about the one and only Creator and His divine law. And it shows all the mankind how to live on this earth. His divine law shows all the mankind how to live on this earth according to his divine law. And yet the mankind has failed to do the right thing, whatever the scientific, professional knowledge of the world they may have, and yet it never helped them to fix the mankind's problem to this very day. And yet the mankind has failed to do the right thing, whatever the scientific, professional knowledge of the world they may have, and yet it never helped them to fix the mankind's problem to this very day. So this is what the divine law says in Psalm chapter 35, 15 to 17 verses, and Exodus chapter 20, 4 and 5. Excuse me. So this is what his divine law says. In Psalm chapter 135, 15 to 17 verses, and Exodus chapter 20, 4 and 5. All the mankind on this earth are so ungrateful to the Creator, and they are worshipping the Satan's man-made idols. It says in Psalm 135 and Exodus chapter 20, it says about so ungrateful to the Creator, and they are worshipping the Satan's man-made idols, the temples, the churches, and the ruins of the ancient buildings on this earth. They are worshipping the Satan's man-made idols, the temples, the churches, and the ruins of the ancient buildings on this earth. They are the idols of the nations. Those who worship the Satan man-made idols, they are the idols of the nations who follow the demons, the sorcerers, the astrologists, and they worship the humans, the sign of the cross, the symbol of the Jesus Christ, the wood, the trees of the cross, the trees, the stones, the silver, the bronze, and the gold. Focus this, my dear friends. They are the idols of the nations who worship the Satan-made idols. They follow the demons, the sorcerers, the astrologists, and they worship the humans, the sign of the cross, the symbol of the Jesus Christ, the wood, the trees, the stones, the silver, the bronze, and the gold. Notice what? They make those idols out of the materials which belong to the living God. But those have life in them, and they cannot do nothing by its own. They have no life in them, and they cannot do nothing by its own. They have eyes, but they cannot see. They have ears, but they cannot hear. They have mouth, they cannot speak. They have nose, they cannot breathe. They have legs, they cannot walk. And they fall, they cannot move. These are the human-made idols they worship and serving them as gods. I would like to read this again, my dear friends.